Some people walk into a room and instantly command respect. Not because they are the loudest. Not because they are the richest. Not because they are the most physically attractive. But because something about them feels calm, grounded, powerful. Their presence speaks before they do. In a world addicted to attention, the truly attractive person is rare. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They believed attraction was not built through manipulation or appearance alone. It was built through character, through habits, through emotional control, through the way a person carries themselves when nobody is watching. And today, we're going to explore 6 simple habits that quietly make a person deeply attractive. Not just romantically, but socially, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. If you enjoy content that helps you grow stronger mentally and emotionally, subscribe to Wisdom Without Noise for more videos on Stoicism, self-discipline, and inner strength. Let's begin. 1. They speak less, but mean more. Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue. Zeno of Citium. About Zeno of Citium *. Zeno was the founder of Stoicism, a Greek philosopher who taught that wisdom and self-control are the foundations of a meaningful life. One of the most attractive traits a person can develop is restraint. Most people speak too much. They interrupt. They overshare. They explain themselves constantly. They talk because silence makes them uncomfortable. But the Stoics admired people who knew how to remain composed. People who didn't need to dominate every conversation to feel important. There's something magnetic about someone who listens carefully before speaking. Someone who chooses words with intention. Someone who doesn't rush to react emotionally. Because calm speech reflects a calm mind. Think about the people you naturally respect. Often, they are not the loudest in the room. They are the ones whose words carry weight. A man once worked in a noisy office where everyone constantly argued during meetings. People interrupted each other trying to sound intelligent. One employee barely spoke. He simply observed. And when he finally shared his opinion, the entire room became quiet. Not because he shouted, but because every word he said mattered. Over time, people started trusting him more, seeking his advice, respecting his judgment. Why? Because restraint creates mystery. And mystery creates attraction. The Stoics believed emotional discipline begins with the tongue. If you can control your speech, you can control yourself. Attractive people do not chase attention. They let their presence speak. This doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It means speaking with clarity instead of noise. When someone asks you a question, pause before answering. Listen fully. Respond thoughtfully. You'll notice something powerful. People begin leaning in. They pay closer attention. Because thoughtful silence is rare in a world full of chaos. There's another reason this habit is attractive. People feel safe around emotionally controlled individuals. Someone who blurts out everything they think often creates tension. But someone who speaks carefully creates peace. Imagine 2 friends during an argument. One reacts instantly, yelling, accusing, escalating. The other stays composed. They breathe. They choose their words carefully. They refuse to let anger control them. Which one seems stronger? Which one seems more attractive? The Stoics knew true power is quiet. Social media trains people to react immediately, to post every feeling, to respond to every insult, to constantly prove themselves. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. It teaches patience, reflection, stillness. And strangely enough, that calmness becomes unforgettable. When you stop talking just to fill silence, people start valuing what you say. The next time you're in a conversation, resist the urge to dominate. Observe. Listen. Speak slowly. Speak clearly. Because the person who controls their words often controls the room. And that kind of presence is deeply attractive. 2. They stay calm under pressure. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. About Marcus Aurelius *. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire during times of war and crisis, yet his writings focused on inner peace, emotional mastery, and resilience. Nothing reveals a person's true character faster than pressure. Anyone can appear confident when life is easy. Anyone can smile when things are going well. But when stress arrives, when plans fail, when emotions rise, that is when real strength becomes visible. And calmness under pressure is incredibly attractive. The Stoics believed external chaos should never control the inner self. They trained themselves to remain steady in difficult moments. Not emotionless, but disciplined. People naturally trust those who remain calm, because calmness signals stability. Imagine being on a plane during turbulence. Everyone begins panicking. But then you notice the flight attendant walking calmly down the aisle. Their composure immediately affects the room. That's the power of emotional control. A young woman once lost her job unexpectedly. Most people around her expected her to break down. Instead, she remained composed. She updated her resume. She kept her routines. She stayed kind to others. She didn't pretend life was perfect. But she refused to collapse emotionally. Months later, she found a better opportunity. But what impressed people most wasn't her recovery. It was the grace she showed during uncertainty. That grace became attractive. The Stoics understood something modern society forgets. Emotions are contagious. An angry person spreads anger. A fearful person spreads fear. But a calm person spreads peace. People want to be around individuals who make life feel lighter instead of heavier. Today, many people react impulsively. They explode over small inconveniences. They let every inconvenience ruin their mood. But the attractive person learns emotional endurance. They pause before reacting. They accept that discomfort is part of life. They refuse to let temporary frustration become permanent chaos. This habit changes relationships. In friendships, calm people become trusted. In workplaces, they become respected. In relationships, they become emotionally safe. Because emotional maturity is rare. The Stoics practiced something called the discipline of perception. They understood that events themselves are not always the problem. Our interpretation is. Traffic is not suffering. Your reaction creates suffering. Failure is not destruction. Your interpretation creates destruction. When you stop reacting emotionally to everything, you become harder to shake. And people notice. There's something unforgettable about someone who remains centered while everyone else loses control. You don't need to become emotionless. You simply need to become less reactive. Breathe before responding. Pause before speaking. Detach from emotional chaos. The calmer you become, the more powerful your presence feels. And that quiet strength makes you attractive in ways appearance alone never can. If you're enjoying this video, subscribe to Wisdom Without Noise for more Stoic lessons that help you build confidence, clarity, and inner peace. 3. They respect themselves deeply. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. About Epictetus *. Epictetus was born into slavery and later became one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, teaching self-mastery and personal responsibility. Self-respect changes everything. The way you walk. The way you speak. The way you allow others to treat you. People who lack self-respect constantly seek validation. They tolerate disrespect. They abandon their values to fit in. They become desperate for approval. But attractive people value themselves first. Not arrogantly. Not selfishly. But quietly. The Stoics believed dignity comes from within. Not from applause. Not from popularity. Not from social status. A person who respects themselves does not beg for attention. They do not chase people who repeatedly disrespect them. They do not compromise their values just to avoid loneliness. There's a silent confidence in someone who knows their worth. A young man once stayed in a relationship where he was constantly insulted and manipulated. He feared leaving because he didn't want to be alone. One day, after months of emotional exhaustion, he finally walked away. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Quietly. He started rebuilding his life. Reading more. Working out. Spending time with supportive friends. Learning discipline. Months later, people noticed something different. He carried himself differently. He spoke differently. He seemed lighter. Why? Because self-respect transforms your energy. The Stoics taught that your peace is your responsibility. And protecting your peace requires boundaries. Attractive people know how to say no. They know when to walk away. They know their values matter more than temporary acceptance. This habit also affects physical presence. When someone respects themselves, they naturally take care of their body, mind, and environment. Not because they hate themselves, but because they value themselves. They sleep better. They dress with intention. They manage their emotions. They keep promises to themselves. And all of these small actions communicate confidence. People can feel when someone is desperate for approval. And they can feel when someone is grounded in self-worth. The second energy is always more attractive. Social media constantly pressures people to compare themselves. To compete for attention. To seek external validation. But Stoicism reminds us that self-worth should never depend on strangers. The most attractive people are often the least desperate. They are comfortable alone. Comfortable in silence. Comfortable with themselves. That comfort creates peace. And peace creates confidence. Self-respect also means taking responsibility. The Stoics rejected victim mentality. They believed growth begins when you stop blaming everyone else for your life. A responsible person becomes attractive because they feel dependable. They apologize when wrong. They improve instead of complaining endlessly. They build discipline instead of excuses. In a world full of emotional chaos and insecurity, self-respect stands out. So protect your dignity. Protect your standards. Protect your peace. Because the way you treat yourself teaches others how to treat you. 4. They make others feel seen. We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes. Marcus Aurelius. About Marcus Aurelius * beyond being emperor, Marcus Aurelius believed deeply in human connection, cooperation, and treating others with fairness and compassion. One of the most overlooked forms of attractiveness is attention. Not attention received. Attention given. Most people are distracted. They scroll while others speak. They wait for their turn to talk instead of truly listening. They focus on being impressive instead of being present. But attractive people make others feel important. And that changes everything. Think about the people you enjoy being around most. Often, it's not because they are perfect. It's because they make you feel heard, understood, valued. A cashier once noticed an elderly customer shopping alone every week. Instead of rushing the interaction, she slowed down. She smiled. She asked how his day was going. She remembered his name. One day, the man quietly admitted that those few minutes were often the only meaningful conversation he had all week. That's the power of presence. The Stoics believed humans are connected. We are social beings. And kindness is not weakness. It is strength. People are drawn to those who make them feel emotionally safe. And emotional safety comes from genuine attention. When someone speaks to you, look them in the eyes. Put the phone away. Listen fully. That level of presence is rare today. Attractive people do not constantly try to prove themselves. They create space for others. This habit transforms relationships. In dating, people remember how you made them feel. In friendships, people stay close to those who truly care. In leadership, people follow those who respect them. One manager constantly criticized his employees publicly. Another manager encouraged them privately and listened carefully. Guess which one inspired loyalty? People crave respect. The Stoics understood that ego destroys connection. When every conversation becomes about proving superiority, relationships suffer. But humble attention builds trust. Attractive people ask thoughtful questions. They remember details. They make others feel acknowledged. And ironically, the less self-absorbed someone becomes, the more magnetic they feel. There's also a deeper reason this matters. When you genuinely focus on others, you become less trapped inside your own insecurities. Many people become unattractive because they are obsessed with themselves. Their appearance. Their status. Their image. But the Stoics taught that peace comes from serving something larger than the ego. And kindness has a quiet beauty. You never know what someone is carrying silently. A stressful job. Loneliness. Anxiety. Grief. Sometimes your attention becomes their relief. Attractive people understand this. They don't just enter rooms trying to be admired. They enter rooms bringing calmness, warmth, and respect. And people remember that. Because everyone forgets perfect words eventually. But they never forget how someone made them feel. 5. They live with discipline. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. About Epictetus *, Epictetus taught that philosophy should not just be discussed, it should be lived daily through action, discipline, and integrity. Discipline is attractive. Not because it looks impressive online, but because it signals reliability. Many people today chase motivation. But motivation disappears quickly. The Stoics believed character is built through consistent action. Daily habits. Repeated choices. Quiet discipline. A disciplined person becomes trustworthy. They show up when they say they will. They keep promises. They control destructive impulses. They work toward long-term goals instead of chasing temporary pleasure. That kind of consistency creates admiration. A student once struggled with procrastination for years. Every assignment became a last-minute panic. Every goal remained unfinished. Eventually, he decided to change one habit. He woke up early every morning and studied for 1 focused hour before touching his phone. At first, it felt difficult. But over time, his confidence changed. Not because life became easy, but because he finally trusted himself. Discipline builds self-trust. And self-trust changes the way you carry yourself. The Stoics believed freedom comes through self-control, not through endless indulgence. Modern culture often promotes comfort above all else. Avoid discomfort. Avoid boredom. Avoid effort. But attractive people are willing to do difficult things consistently. They exercise even when tired. They remain honest even when lying would be easier. They stay committed when distractions appear. This applies to every area of life. Financial discipline. Emotional discipline. Physical discipline. Spiritual discipline. When someone lacks discipline, life becomes chaotic. Missed opportunities. Broken promises. Emotional instability. But disciplined people create stability. And stability feels attractive because it feels safe. Imagine 2 people entering a relationship. One is impulsive, inconsistent, unreliable. The other communicates clearly, manages emotions responsibly, and follows through on commitments. Who feels more trustworthy? The Stoics train themselves through small daily challenges. Cold weather. Simple meals. Patience during discomfort. Why? Because discipline strengthens the mind. Every time you do something difficult voluntarily, you become stronger emotionally. And strong people carry themselves differently. Discipline also creates quiet confidence. When you know you can rely on yourself, you stop seeking constant reassurance from others. You become grounded, stable, focused. That energy is rare. A disciplined person doesn't need to constantly announce their goals. Their lifestyle speaks for them. They don't chase instant pleasure at the cost of long-term peace. The Stoics understood that a meaningful life requires sacrifice. And sacrifice creates depth. So start small. Wake up earlier. Keep your word. Finish what you start. Because discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in action. And nothing becomes more attractive than a person who has learned to master themselves. 6. They are comfortable being alone. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Marcus Aurelius. About Marcus Aurelius *. Despite ruling an empire filled with pressure and conflict, Marcus Aurelius constantly emphasized solitude, reflection, and inner peace. One of the strongest signs of emotional maturity is the ability to be alone without feeling empty. Many people fear solitude. They constantly seek distraction, noise, validation, attention. The silence makes them uncomfortable because they are not at peace with themselves. But attractive people do not run from solitude. They use it. The Stoics valued time alone because it allowed self-reflection, growth, clarity. A woman once spent years jumping from one relationship to another. Whenever she felt lonely, she searched for someone to fill the emptiness. But eventually, she decided to spend time alone intentionally. She started journaling, reading, walking without headphones, learning who she was without constant distraction. At first, the silence felt uncomfortable. Then it became peaceful. And something surprising happened. She became more confident, more emotionally stable, less desperate for approval. People noticed. Because someone who is comfortable alone carries a different energy. They don't cling. They don't beg for attention. They choose relationships from peace instead of fear. The Stoics believed solitude reveals character. When you are alone, there is no audience, no performance, no applause, only you. And if you cannot enjoy your own company, no amount of external validation will bring lasting peace. Today, silence is rare. People fill every moment with content, scrolling, and stimulation. But constant distraction weakens self-awareness. Attractive people know how to unplug. They know how to sit quietly with their thoughts. They reflect instead of constantly escaping. This creates depth. Depth is attractive because it feels real. Many people appear confident publicly but panic privately. They cannot sit alone for 10 minutes without reaching for distraction. But inner peace creates emotional independence. And emotional independence changes relationships. When you no longer need others to complete you, you stop tolerating unhealthy situations. You stop chasing unavailable people. You stop losing yourself for validation. The Stoics taught that happiness must come from within. Otherwise, your peace becomes controlled by external circumstances. A person who enjoys solitude becomes harder to manipulate. Because they are no longer terrified of being alone. And strangely enough, people are naturally drawn to individuals who are emotionally whole. Not perfect, but grounded. Spend time with yourself. Go for walks. Read. Reflect. Journal your thoughts. Learn what truly matters to you. Because the more peace you create internally, the less desperately you seek it externally. And that inner peace becomes visible. It changes your presence, your confidence, your relationships, your entire energy. That is why solitude, when used wisely, becomes deeply attractive. Real attraction is not built through pretending. It is not built through arrogance. It is not built through chasing approval. It is built quietly. Through habits. Through emotional control. Through discipline. Through peace. The Stoics understood that beauty fades. Status changes. Attention disappears. But character leaves a lasting impression. When you speak with intention, people listen. When you remain calm under pressure, people trust you. When you respect yourself, people feel it. When you make others feel seen, people remember you. When you live with discipline, people admire you. When you become comfortable alone, people recognize your inner strength. These habits do not just make you attractive. They make you powerful. Not powerful in the loud, controlling sense. But powerful in the calm, grounded, unforgettable sense. And the best part is this. These habits are available to anyone willing to practice them daily. Not overnight. Not instantly. But slowly. Quietly. Consistently. If this video helped you, subscribe to Wisdom Without Noise for more Stoic wisdom on self-discipline, emotional strength, confidence, and inner peace. And remember, the strongest presence in the room is often the quietest mind. Until next time, stay calm, stay disciplined, and protect your peace.